For this activity, I observed a 6th grade language arts class at my school. The teacher focuses on the Common Core standards for literacy. Here on your screen you can see the Reading Literacy Standards 6.7, 6.9, and 6.10. For the particular time that I observed the class, the teacher was focusing on Common Core State Standards 6.7, which states students should compare and contrast the experience of reading a story, drama, or poem to listening to or viewing an audio, video, or live version of the text, including contrasting what they see and hear when reading the text to what they perceive when they listen or watch. The teacher chose to keep this standard as her objective for this lesson. At the time of my observation of this class, the teacher was 3/4 of the way through a poetry unit. As classes are ending next week, the students were thoroughly through the poetry handbook that the teacher had created. She had hand-created a poetry handbook which included different genres of poems and different activities for the students to work through. Some were going to be whole class activities, some were going to be individual activities, and some were going to be group activities. There were several different genres of poems included in the handbook, and many activities were addressed, including many tech activities the students could use technology. So as for the time that I observed this class, the students were reading the poem The Highwayman. The teacher read the poem out loud to the class. Then the teacher showed a YouTube video of Lorena McKennett singing The Highwayman as a song. Students took notes and made observations regarding the visual version versus the print version of this poem. A whole class discussion ensued, led by the teacher, about how they see a poem and how they read a poem. For this poetry unit, the teacher did not have to make any lesson adjustments at this time. However, as a teacher in a different situation, I could see where adjustments would need to be made if poems selected for the poetry handbook had been too difficult or too hard to decipher for the students. The teacher would need to change the poems midstream. I also see where poems that are too easy or elementary may have been chosen, and the teacher could switch and choose more complicated poems in the future. But as for this particular observation class, the teacher did not make any lesson adjustments at this time. As far as differentiation goes, at my school we typically have to differentiate for preferred learning styles and for English language learners. Those typically are the two types of differentiation that the teachers at my school do. This teacher is no different. When she created her poetry handbook for this poetry unit, she included different types of activities for varied learning styles. Many of them include technology, which many of our students enjoy. Some, though, are just typical pen and paper activities. This teacher also had to discuss with the English language learner teacher in our school about front-loading some poetry vocab with a few of the students who do receive ELL services currently. No student in this class has English as their first language. So even though many of them no longer receive ELL services, they still struggle with the English language from time to time. So it's a good idea for a teacher to differentiate to ensure that ELL learners can understand what's going on. Also in this class, even though we do not offer special education services, we believe that one of the students does have some minor learning difficulties. So the teacher chose to read selected poems out loud in class for that student who may struggle with reading or could benefit others who struggle with understanding or deciphering poetry. Because of the nature of my school and the class that I observed, there isn't a need for too much differentiation. So I thought, what if? What if I had a class where several students received special education services and had minor to severe learning disabilities? I chose to have a discussion with my husband, who has been a special education teacher for the past 13 years. He gave me some insight to this unit and some ideas that I would have for differentiation for special education students. He suggested teachers could pre-highlight poems with alternating colors, such as orange and yellow, to show the A-B rhyme scheme of poems. This would help a special education student understand the rhyme scheme or even alliteration used in a poem to better meet the objective of the unit. A teacher could select more visuals to accompany poems in a class to help students further understand the meaning of a poem. He also suggested using flexible groups so that students could discuss with each other to further understand some of the poems in this unit. These are some great ideas for differentiation beyond the two categories I've already discussed at my school. Some conclusions I have garnered from this observation are that the teacher I observed differentiated for two types of categories: preferred learning styles and English language learners. She also possibly differentiated for learning disabilities that may be in her class at this time. I noted that the teacher differentiates the content of this unit by selecting easier and harder poems for the poetry handbook. She differentiated for the process in that she gave students a choice of activities in the poetry handbook to complete, and also did lessons such as this one where they read a poem and visually see a poem on the screen. I believe that this teacher differentiated in a proper way for the class and a diversity that she had.